Howdy, Crucible Collectors, and welcome to another KeyForge video. We're on to our 9th deck now. I'm not sure if I talked about it in the last video, but KeyForge Worlds happened. We got a lot of huge announcements, my favorite of which being about OP being in Q1 of next year. We'll have a lot of store OP, we'll have a lot of stuff going on within the local communities. I'm trying actually at my local scene to get a Winds of Exchange event happening one last time before Grim Reminders comes in and we don't touch Winds of Exchange for a little while. Which way is this facing? Like this. A lot of the people in the kind of Atlanta area of Georgia were talking about it, and so we might try and get that rolling soon, but I hope everybody is well. Hope everybody else is just as excited as I am for the next set, as we're rounding out our Winds of Exchange stuff here. Our token creature today is Trader. Very good. A Equidon creature. So we've got Equidon, Brobnar, and Star Alliance. It's a yellow Archon. The hustling speedster of Santalieu? Santalieu? That's a really good name though. The hustling speedster makes sense. And with the yellow kind of lightning sparking from the Archon, a very well themed deck, or well put together. Trader's very good. These are some good houses. Star Alliance can be a flop, but we'll see what comes with it. Alrighty. Let's move on to the card reveal. Okay, back with the card reveal. Here's a closer look at our hustling speedster. Very, very cool. Let's dig right in. Set the deck list to the side here. And our very first card will be our token. We've got the Trader. 1 power creature with action steal 1, destroy Trader. Very good. Like the wording on that, because if you happen to have any cards that ward creatures, you can action steal 1, and then you'll definitely still get the steal off, and then it'll just pop a ward. So you could theoretically get 2 uses out of your Trader. Stuff like that is very, very cool. Alrighty, so we're starting in Star Alliance, starting with a sort of efficiency card. I love this creature. This is Navigator Ollie, 3 power, and it reads, play after fight after reap. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. Then we've got Specialist Guthrak here, 3 power creature with skirmish, and after fight after reap, capture 1 for each house represented among Specialist Guthrak and its neighbors. Very cool, some good amber control. Secura Droid, 4 power creature with taunt, and Secura Droid may be played as an upgrade instead of a creature with the text this creature gains taunt. Secura Droid's actually really good in this set, especially if you only get like 1, you don't flood your deck with multiples. Taunt is just so low. It's something that's relatively sought after in Winds of Exchange because there aren't a whole lot of taunt creatures, so Secura Droid can bring some great value to a deck. Ooh, Rogue Operations. It's an action. Reads play, discard the top 2 cards of your deck, steal 1 amber for each house represented among the discarded cards. Very good amber control. Recorded history, some good efficiency. It's an action with an amber pip, and it reads play, reveal up to 3 cards of different houses from your hand, archive each card revealed this way. Ooh, and an Echo Reflector, an upgrade with an amber pip. This creature gains your opponent's keys cost +3. Great amber control. CPO Zytar, it's a 4 power 1 armor creature, and it enhances a damage and 2 draw pips into the deck. Love the draw pips, that's good to see. Another CPO Zytar, very cool. Quantrino Warp, it's an action, and it says play, choose a friendly creature and an enemy creature, destroy those creatures and each creature that shares a house with either of them, gain 1 chain. A decent board wipe, not bad. 2 of those, this one with a draw pip kind of takes away from that chain a little bit. That's good. Good creature control. That's good to see. Then we've got Gruntwork, an action with an amber pip. Play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put them back in any order, make a token creature. Very good token creating card. And then we've got Crash Muldoon as our rare. 3 power creature with deploy. Crash Muldoon enters play ready, and action, use a neighboring non-Star Alliance creature. Very cool. A way to use a non-Star Alliance creature Within your Star Alliance turn, immediately from play, it's like a delayed action with repeated benefits, although sometimes it's really good just to play them and then reap so that you can get into check. Not bad. Alrighty, so we're going into our Equidon here with the action Trading Frenzy. It's got an Amber Pip, it was enhanced with a draw, and it says play, a friendly creature and an enemy creature capture 3 from their opponent. You basically trade 3 Amber. It's extra good if your opponent doesn't have any creatures. Shrewd Investor, 4 power creature with elusive. Play, you may have your opponent gain 1 Amber. If you do, capture 4. It's a really good card. We're having some capture out the gate. We have to hope we get something like Exchange Program so we can switch sides with these creatures. Ooh, then we have Mass Buyout. It's an action. Play, destroy each creature. Each player gains Amber equal to half the number of creatures they controlled that were destroyed this way, rounded up. Very, very good card, especially in the early game. In the late game, it can become kind of dead in your hand if it puts your opponent into check, but in the early game, it's super good. 2 of those. Then we've got Hieron. It's an action. It says play, make a token creature. If there is a combined total of 6 or more Amber between both players' pools, archive Hieron. Probably my favorite token creating card. Oh, and then we have Generous Offer. It's enhanced with a damage pip. It's an action. It says play, destroy friendly creature. If you do, steal 2 Amber. Very good. Then we've got Gem Coat Vendor here. 6 power creature with actions. Steal 1 Amber. Deal 1 damage to Gem Coat Vendor. Oh, and then Belligerent Guard. 8 power creature. Belligerent Guard enters play ready, and it says play, your opponent draws 1 card. Very good. Some very good targeted creature removal. This is great against like Browzork, because Browzork is stopping the actions, but this is, I think, big enough to swing into it and get it off the board immediately. Ooh, and then Auction Off. It's enhanced with a draw pip, and it's got an Amber Pip on it. It's an action. It says play Purge an artifact. Its controller gains 1 Amber. So we do have some artifact control in here. Oh, and then Trade Secrets. It's an action. Play, discard any number of Equidon cards from your hand. Steal 1 Amber for each card discarded this way. Very good. Lots of Amber control in this deck, actually. That's awesome. We've got the Artifact Exoshell System. It's enhanced with a damage pip. Play, make a token creature. Each friendly token creature gains elusive. That is great for the trader, because ideally the trader stays around until our next Equidon turn, and this is a great way to prevent them from dying to like fights, although it doesn't protect it from like splash attack if the neighbor is fought into, but it's still very nice to have a way to protect our traders. Trader also might be a great target for our Crash Muldoon if we really want to steal and kind of get that out of the way. And then we have Avid Collecting. It's an action with an Amber Pip. Return a friendly token creature to your hand. Very good. It looks like we don't have a whole lot of tokenizing, but this is a great way if we do tokenize a very important card to go ahead and just pick that right back up. Especially if it's like one of our Amber control cards in Equidon on an Equidon turn. It's very good. And then we are diving into our Brobnar. I don't know exactly what we would want to see. I don't feel like we're missing a whole lot. Maybe some more creature control, which I think Brobnar has to offer. Some more token generation. I would love to see like a Ragnarok prep, Amber control with token creating. But we're starting with the 3 power creature Shockherder here. It's got deploy and play ready and fight with a neighboring creature. Ooh, and then we've got Rant and Rive. It's an action with an Amber Pip. Play, if your opponent has 8 or more Amber, they lose half their Amber rounding down. Very good card. Then we've got the creature Pelf here. 3 power with Skirmish. After fight, your opponent loses 1 Amber. Got Krog the Clumsy, 7 power creature with Splash Attack 2. Very good if we can keep him on the board. We also have Shockherder, so we can use our Pelf or use our Krog the Clumsy the moment they hit the board if we've got our Shockherder in hand. 2 Krogs. Then we've got a Bumpsy here, 5 power creature with play. Your opponent loses 1 Amber. Some good Amber control tied to a creature. 2 of those. Oh, and this Bumpsy has a draw pip. Not bad. Ooh, and then Brick Nasty. So from added value, you play Brick Nasty, you play Krog or Bumpsy, you Shockherder them. Wow, okay. 5 power creature. After another friendly Brobnar creature fights, gain 1 Amber. Ooh, and then some Amber control. Unguarded Camp. It's an action with an Amber Pip. Play, for each creature you control in excess of your opponent, a friendly creature captures 1 Amber. Each creature cannot capture more than 1 Amber this way. Oh, 2 of those. And then we've got Grand Gourd, 5 power creature with, at the start of your turn, if you control the most powerful creature, or a creature tied for the most power, make a token creature. Very cool. Grand Gourd is awesome just because, one, we needed token making, we needed some more. We don't have a whole lot in this deck. Two, something that I realized really early on with Grand Gourd is that it's like the best of the kind of one-sided or two-sided effects, just because your opponent can shut it off, but your opponent doesn't then start gaining benefits. It isn't like if your opponent has the highest power, they make a token creature. It's just... Excuse me, it's just if you have the highest power, you make one, and if you don't have the highest power, oh well. Ooh, and then we have Hebe the Huge, 6 power, or Hebe the Huge, I believe. 6 power creature with play, deal 2 damage to each other undamaged creature. Okay, so there was a really healthy mix of stuff in there. I think a lot of our Amber Control ended up being capture. We had both those Bumpsies, Trade Secrets, Generous Offer, and then Echo Reflector, sorry. We do have Exoshell System. But I think there's a lot of ways for us to kind of hold the Amber on the board, and then once it starts returning to our opponent, we can steal it with Traders, Generous Offers, Trade Secrets. There's a variety of different ways to kind of reclaim it after we've held it for a while. So it seems super, super good. We also have a couple board wipes in there. Artifact control, I'm hard pressed to see what we don't have, except maybe we're missing out on some Amber generation, but I think that would come along the line if we're controlling our opponent's Amber and we're controlling their board enough. We can just start reaping, or if we can get a very well-timed Brick Nasty on the board, we can start fighting and gaining Amber that way. Okay, super, super cool. Give me one moment, I will divvy out everything, and then we will look at the deck overview. And here is the deck breakdown. Of course, we have our usual piles: Amber Control, Expected Amber, Artifact Control, and Creature Control. Then we also have our just token making pile, and our token is on display in the corner. There is our SAS. And editing Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the highest SAS deck we've opened this display. 77 SAS. It looks really fun. It's got a lot going for it. It's got no anti-synergy, which is always great to see. It's got a +1 in meta from our artifact control. Typically, you'll see like a -1 in your meta for Winds of Exchange decks, mostly from creature control, because if you don't have a couple board wipes, it's hard to deal with Winds of Exchange decks, at least in the current meta. And then +11 synergy, but 77, that's good. This is probably a really good deck. It would do great in a sealed night at a store. As far as the individual houses go, our Brobnar house got 25 SAS, Equidon had 26, and Star Alliance had 25, so it was all pretty spread out. There is our extras and counts. So we had 9 bonus Amber, which isn't as high as I'd like, but I think this deck kind of makes up for it. The pips in this deck aren't very plentiful, but that's okay. Then we had 1 archiving card in Recorded History, no key cheats, 1 scaling Amber Control card in Rant and Rive, and then 4 board wipes in both the Mass Buyouts and both the Contriner Warps, which is super, super good to see. And then we had 16 actions, which is about 3 actions above average, 18 creatures, which is about average. Then we had 1 artifact, which is the Exoshell System, that is about 2 cards below average, and then we had 1 upgrade, which is about 1 card below average. And as far as our token generation score goes, it is a 6.5. We only had 4 cards in the deck that actually made tokens at all. It was Hieron, Grand Gourd, Gruntwork, and Exoshell System. But not bad. Let's go ahead and clear that away. There is our Amber and Control sections. We got the 15 in Amber Control, 18 in Expected Amber, 1.5 in Artifact Control, and 16 in Creature Control. Let's dig into this. Starting with our Amber Control, there's something interesting that I noticed while going through the Amber Control section that I'll talk about when the card pops up. But we start with Specialist Guthrak, not bad. Specialist Guthrak, after fight, after reap, is some capture. You have to have separate houses amongst your neighbors, which Typically is okay if you have good token making. I can do it with like grunt work, but we don't have a whole lot of token creation in this deck. So he might not pop off as much, but he's our weakest rated Amber Control, so that's fine. Then we had Pelf, which we can go ahead and get going with Shock Herder. Shrewd Investor for some big capture. We didn't get any cards that would allow us to switch Shrewd Investor to the opponent's side, which stinks, but it's great for holding on to it, especially if we can set up some good steal. Gemcoat Vendor, the steal in question. Then 2 Unguarded Camps here, some extra good capture, especially since we have a decent number of creatures in this deck. You know, 18 is nothing to scoff at, and a lot of them are in Brobnar. Unguarded Camp, I think, will definitely get its uses. And we've got 2 Bumpsies for an immediate lose 1, which is really good. It's not capture, so they can't get it back. Then Trading Frenzy, which is 2-sided capture. Trade Secrets is the interesting card in question. So I found out on SAS, Trade Secrets isn't actually... It doesn't give you any score, any points in your Amber Control unless you have cards in your deck that either like archive in Equidon, I think, because I don't think it even counted my recorded history as archiving. And then, or if you have draw, like Old Tinker or something like that. So Trade Secrets is actually rated as a 0, which I think is a bit unfair. I feel like sometimes you might discard it and it doesn't have a pip or anything, which stinks, but you can always find value in it. I mean, there will be times, especially in the later game, where I don't want to play my Shrewd Investor, I don't want to play my Mass Buyouts, I don't want to play my Trading Frenzy, and you know, if I end up in a turn where I don't want to play any of those cards, I have Trade Secrets in my hand. Sure, I can't draw into more of them, but I could Avid Collecting one to my hand, or I guess I could just action my trader unless I created them that turn. But I think most of the time, especially in the late game, I'll end up discarding at least one with this. So I set it up here with the cards that kind of deal with at least 1 amber. Then we've got the Echo Reflector here for an increased key cost. Again, great, since we've got so much capture. We might be able to give it back to them and then be like, nope, they cost 9 now. And then we've got Rogue Operations, which is phenomenal, especially since we have Grunt Work and Navigator Ali. It's 2 ways to just set up a Rogue Operations to make sure it happens in a Star Alliance turn. Super good. And then Generous Offer. And Rant and Rive for more exponential. Again, super great with the Echo Reflector. We get their key cost up to 9. They get up to 9, and then we, you know, take away half their amber, pull them out of check. So very, very good Amber Control. Alrighty, in our expected Amber, you'll notice the pile is very thin. We just have 2 cards, Crash Muldoon and Brick Nasty. Brick Nasty will generate the most. Crash Muldoon's just kind of here because it enters play ready. I could have put Belligerent Guard in here as well, but I think Belligerent Guard is best served as creature control. A lot of our expected Amber outside of the pips actually came from stealing. So there wasn't a whole lot of cards to put here because I like putting stealing in Amber Control just because the way it affects your opponent is super important. But yeah, I think if there's one section that this deck is lacking in, it's probably the expected Amber, but I think it's fine. It seems to hold out its own in a long game pretty well. And then we've got Auction Off here, of course, enhanced, which is nice. The ability to purge an artifact is huge. Can get rid of a bunch of pesky stuff, and it'll become probably even more important in Grim Reminders. There's a lot of cards. I will put a spoiler warning on the screen for those of you that are keeping yourself sacred, but something like the, I think it was called a Tachyon device, I'll put it on the screen, is super important to get rid of. So if you can purge that before your opponent gets it going, or something even like Island of Misfit Toys, some of the artifacts in this set are just truly crazy. Or even like I think it's called Soul Vial is a really good artifact, or Haunted House. I'm shoving cards on the screen, I'm sure, but it's just, this set's artifacts are really in another league, and there's some decent artifact control in Grim Reminders. The reprinting Reclaimed by Nature, which is huge. But I think, one, I'm just so excited for this upcoming set, and 2, artifact control is going to be more important than ever. You know, if they don't reprint Tachyon Pulse, then we might actually start wanting it if they do reprint it. Or if they don't, we might start begging them to do so. Let me clear the screen of all that stuff and pause here for people skipping to a time mark. Okay. So then here we're looking at our creature control. Hello. If it'll work with me here. CPO Zytar is here, just barely. It's just the enhanced damage pip, basically. Both of them. Then our Shock Herder for our Ready and Fight effect. Huge, especially in this deck with our Krog the Clumsies, which I'm sure we'll see in a second. Belligerent Guard for an immediate swing of 8 is huge. Here are our Krog the Clumsies. Great board control. Great way to get around taunt creatures for the smaller things. Then we got Hebe the Huge for not a board wipe, but an instance of huge board damage. Have to be super careful playing this card if your opponent has Mars Needs Amber, though. Basically never play Hebe if you haven't seen your opponent's Mars Needs Amber. 2 Mass Buyouts and 2 Quintrino Warps, one of them enhanced with a draw. 4 of these cards being board wipes is huge. I think one of the big takeaways from looking at all these Winds of Exchange decks is that board wipes are super important, at least for your SAS score, and just having the ability to deal with your opponent's board, especially since Quintrino Warp deals with it in such a way that you can kind of make decisions around it. You know, if you only have one Star Alliance creature in play, I just pick Star Alliance, all Star Alliance creatures die, whatever, and then I pick, whatever house I want for my opponent to get rid of. And an instant destroyed effect that isn't damage based is just so good. I think that board wipe's actually really nice. You don't see a whole lot of it in Winds of Exchange, though. At least I haven't. And then our token making, Gruntwork, superb card, works with Rogue Operations in a really weird way, just because you look at the top 3 and then rearrange them, but then you turn one into a token, so you have to make sure that the bottom 2 are the 2 that you want to discard with Rogue Operations. Then Grand Gourd, Exoshell System, which makes one, but it's also more so just protecting it, and then Hieron, which is our single most important token generating card in the game. I think we probably can't, hold out for it. We can't just hold it in our hand because we don't have like a crazy, super fast speed or anything, even though our speed is definitely decent. But if we could hit this with like a recorded history if the time isn't right, that would be huge. This is just something we want to make sure recurs, because we're going to want to bring out those traders for those steal effects. Especially since they have elusive. You have to be careful to make sure it happens for sure. Alrighty, we'll get rid of that. And here is our speed and board. We're looking at speed of 5.5. That is recorded history. That's the draw from CPO Zytar. We've got Gruntwork, Navigator Ali, Avid Collecting. A lot of that is basically just our Star Alliance. Quintrino Warp is pulling it down some. Our effective power is decent. It's nothing crazy. It gets brought down by all of our board wipes and stuff. Quintrino Warp, Mass Buyout, and then Generous Offer and Avid Collecting also bring it down because they are messing with how many creatures we have the board and stuff like that. But the Double Krog and the Belligerent Guard, Shrewd Investor, Gemcoat Vendor, those high power creatures are really holding it up. Our creature protection is 0.8, basically because of Exoshell System, also Secure Droid's in there. Secure Droid is great. When I first saw it in the deck, I know I commented on, Taunt is in high demand, and it is the only Taunt creature in our deck. So it could protect some traders, which would be awesome, or even, sit next to our Brick Nasty if we haven't been able to take advantage of Brick Nasty yet. No recursion. Our disruption is actually at a negative. So we have Auction Off, which would purge one of their cards, but Belligerent Guard lets them draw one. So we anti-disrupt them. We give them more value. And then in our other board affecting cards, we've got Grand Gourd, Hieron, and Crash Muldoon. But that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I am super excited to get some games in with this. This is pretty high SAS, and I actually really like the Winds of Exchange decks that don't make a whole lot of tokens. I think the fact that it isn't making very many can actually work in its favor a lot, especially since this has so many just good cards, you know, like the generous offers, the recorded history. There's a lot of stuff we don't want tokenized. So being able to really pick and choose when we tokenize stuff is actually pretty huge. I wish we had maybe like an Equiji outpost in here to really push it over the edge, but this is the farthest thing from bad, and I'm super pumped. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you're pumped for Grim Reminders. I am excited to start making content around it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, the most important part of KeyForge is the person sitting across the table. Have a good one!